Hey guys, welcome to Not Your Average podcast with Sean and Mitch from Beyond Limits. We're here with Matt Sallis.
How you doing, guys? Welcome to ESDL Fitness. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man.
So at Beyond Limits, we're just setting up podcasts where we talk to people that have gone beyond limits within their life and they have that not your average mindset that they apply to everyday life. Matt, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I've been in the fitness industry for a good 11 to 12 years now. All started off as a simple lifeguard.
Lifeguard, eh? That Baywatch stuff, yeah?
It was a bright lights.
There's got to be a video of you somewhere running up a beach.
Did you do a slow-mo?
There's got to be a video on YouTube.
If anyone's got a slow-mo of Matt doing lifeguarding,
send them in.
I'll tell you what, that's the best paying job at 18 years of age.
Yeah, I
so
can imagine.
18 years of age, real good pay. But yeah, anyways. And then, so that was in a leisure centre, and from there obviously moved into more specific fitness background, so like personal training, gym instructing. As I approached 18, 19, finishing A-levels, moved on to uni. Actually started in water sports science, funnily enough.
Okay.
Everyone asks why. What the fuck I thought I was doing going into a water sports science. I soon realised.
Can you even swim? Is that
yeah, I can swim. I was a real good swimmer, actually. A real good swimmer. And very quickly I realised that I wasn't getting anything out of it. I mean, it's probably one of the best experiences I had. You know, surfing, wakeboarding, all that kind of stuff down in Plymouth Uni. And then 2009, I think it was early 2009, after binge eating, binge drinking, all that kind of stuff we do at uni, decided to get a tattoo.
Nice.
Which led to me having septicemia and pneumonia. And then following that...
Was the tattoo of David Hasselhoff?
So if you guys are wondering why you recognise Matt, and if you haven't seen it on the podcast picture that we put up earlier, Matt actually won SAS Who Dares Wins. It's a season that's on at the minute. If you haven't seen it, make sure you watch this one. It's pretty brutal. But Matt actually won last season. It was a savage effort. We all watched it before we even met. And it looked brutal, man. It looked absolutely brutal.
Best experience of my life.
But I mean, there's a deeper story here that we only found out after we all sort of met and become friends, that we kind of discussed, and you've only recently put out on social media, and it's about the tattoo that you were just discussing. And I really want to sort of find out more about that, because I think that's where you becoming Not Your Average started, not SAS Who Dares Wins. I think it was before that. So tell us more. Tell us about the tattoo.
Definitely. I mean, there was an event which we might discuss prior to that as well. But for me, the turning point was definitely the tattoo incident. So yeah, moving on from where we got to having a tattoo, getting septicemia and pneumonia, it left me on life support for 2 weeks.
How old was you then?
I was just coming up 19.
Got it.
So I took a year out after A-levels, then went to uni.
So that must have been quite a tough time for you then, is it, at that age, to deal with all of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say, because I've always had a strong mindset. Mum's been very headstrong, looked after 3 kids by herself. So I've always had that independent, strong mindset, and the belief that you can overcome what you want to overcome. So for me, when it happened, it was a big hit mentally, more so physically. I came out of hospital at 8.5 stone, and I'm sitting at 13.5 right now. So you can imagine what I look like. People thought I'd had a drug.
How long was you in the hospital?
2 months.
2 months?
2 months.
Jesus.
Two long months. They didn't know what it was at first. They thought I'd had meningitis at first, so I had like a lumbar puncture as soon as I'd gone in. Within a couple of hours of being in there, I had 7 cannulas put into my neck, and then they started pushing this. All I remember was them pushing this tube down the side of my throat. And then I was just out cold. Woke up 2 weeks later.
And this is all at the age of 19 as well?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Family sitting around me, and then all look at me as if I've been brought back to life. And I thought, what the fuck's going on here? So yeah, it was a long road after that. I'd still needed to be operated on, even after having woken up. And that didn't happen for another month and a half. I got taken to London, operated on. It was due to be keyhole surgery, and my lung actually collapsed during the operation. So I ended up waking up with a 12-inch scar on my back. I'll get it out for you in a bit.
That's the outtake.
literally felt like I'd been hit by a bus.
Right.
But I was never at a point where I thought, I'm not going to get over this. I mean, my first thought was, Mum had actually bought in the Men's Health magazine whilst I was in hospital.
Right.
And I saw the Men's Health cover model competition in there. And straight away for me, that's going to be my milestone.
That was your goal,
That's what I'm going to try and achieve. And I was actually sitting doing press-ups and sit-ups whilst I was in the hospital. And I ran all these old fellas. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And the nurse says, what the fuck are you doing? But for me, it's just the quicker I can get physically stronger again, the better. So then it wasn't necessarily about the mental approach. It was more being mentally strong in knowing that I can physically get back to where I need to get to.
Yeah.
So then that's when I realised water sports science wasn't for me. And I went into strength and conditioning. So I went back to uni in Plymouth. I had to go back to uni.
And how long was this after coming out of hospital?
So this was a good year. So I didn't go back to uni till the following year.
Yeah.
And I had to redo my first year of water sports science, which I didn't want to do, but because I'd already paid for that first year, and then me dropping out pretty much halfway through, they were like, no, you have to come back and do it, otherwise you can pay for that first year. So I was like, sweet, I'll go do some surfing and
Fine, I'll chill out at the beach, it's cool, don't worry about it.
And then the following year I went into strength conditioning, and that's why I was at uni for so long. I didn't get out of uni till 24, 25.
Jesus.
And I guess that's another thing that shaped me, is because at the time that I was at uni, everyone was 18, 19 years of age, and I was 21, 22. So in my head, I was already at a different level, because I didn't want to be drinking and binge eating anymore.
Yeah.
You'd already been through that, you'd already sat in that stage and you're moving on.
I knew what it did to me, or partly did to me.
So did you feel that really benefited you in like your learning process and stuff, because you managed to then step away from the binge eating and the drinking and actually focus on what you was learning?
Yeah, I mean, the time that I second about that at uni, I definitely embraced it a lot more, like the actual education side of it. I was much more interested in actually spending time in the library. I mean, in my fourth year, which I did at St Mary's, so I transferred to St Mary's to do my last year, I spent more time in the library than I did in the gym, than I did at home.
Yeah.
And I did sleeping, you know what I mean? Because I was intent on getting what I wanted to get out of it, and that was a first. St Mary's was a really good uni anyway, because you had the resources for work experience. So we had some really good resources for work experience. I spent a bit of time at QPR, Crystal Palace academies, and again, that's working with youngsters that you can, at my age, you can have influence over. So I guess you could say I've always been in a position where, not necessarily been looked up to, but in my head I've been in a position where, right, you need to be a role model.
Like a position of authority?
Yeah, to the uni students.
Someone to look up to?
Yeah, to the uni students that I was working with, to the kids at the academies that I was working with, and that's probably rubbed off on me from my mum. Single parent.
Yeah.
She was very much tough love, and a role model to me. So yeah, got my degree done, and then I was working as a PT in a leisure centre to start with, because as you always do when you come out of uni, there's not much opportunity going on. There's a lot of searching for it until something actually comes up, and it just wasn't working out. Strength conditioning, which I wanted to go into, is a very, not saturated industry, but it's very hard to get a job.
Why strength and conditioning specifically? What was the appeal there?
I wanted to be in football.
Right, okay.
Specifically academy level, because you can have that influence over younger athletes.
Yeah.
When you come into a sort of first team environment, it's much harder to have an influence, but it's also much harder to have your own philosophies and influence instilled in that environment.
So you feel quite strongly around leadership and stuff like that, and being a positive role model?
Yeah, I guess so. I like to be able to put across my message. Not necessarily you have to go by my approach, but give my approach, give my experience, and then they can take away from that what they will. But at the time, in football, that wasn't the case. Like
Stuck in its way.
Before, like the bright lights of, yeah, got a job at QPR, it's going to be brilliant. Everything had to be done with a football.
Yeah.
That's not strength conditioning.
Yeah.
They concentrate on the football. So there's no way that I could have my influence and my education that I've just picked up, and my direction in that kind of environment. So it led to quite an unhappy employment, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And then that's when I decided to go and do my own thing.
So is this at the stage where you decided to wear shorts on a stage, naked in front of those people? Is this the point?
Yeah.
Is this where bodybuilding comes in?
Yeah. Coincides, yeah.
So just tell me a little bit about that. About obviously Matt's competed in some bodybuilding shows and won in bodybuilding shows as well. Just tell us a little bit about how you did that transition from being aspiring to be a strength and conditioning coach to stepping on stage into a bodybuilding environment.
There were some experiences and setbacks that took place before any successes came into play. And as I said, they're the kind of things that mould you as a competitor or the person that you are.
So it's all good winning stuff all the time, but you need to experience that loss to actually feel the hunger for something.
Exactly, yeah. In my eyes, you haven't experienced a win unless you've experienced a loss. So my first competition that I ever took part in was Body Power, and it was I can't remember what it's called now, I don't think it's running anymore, a fitness model competition of some sort.
Oh, okay.
Didn't even place in the top 30. Shit myself when I got on stage. Literally froze.
Stood there in your little panties.
I got in the best shape I'd ever been in, but that's when I realised you need more than just a physique in these competitions if you're going to stand out, because they're becoming very popular. And that hit me hard, that did hit me hard.
Yeah, I can imagine you put in all that work and then to not be recognised for the work that you've done must be quite...
That's the problem in this sport. At that time, I didn't realise that it was a subjective sport. And if you don't understand that in that sport, then you need to understand it very quickly, because you're going to have more losses than you are wins in most cases.
There's a lot of components, you don't just look good, there's a lot more components to it.
Exactly. Sometimes it's the timing, sometimes it's the competition that you go to, sometimes you can get your nutrition or hydration wrong, and that has a massive effect on your physique sometimes. So it's not just about making sure you're in peak physical condition, it's also having a personality out on stage so that you can stand out in front of people, because nowadays men's physique in bikini, as you know, I mean, at our first show at Two Bros, or our last show at Two Bros, we had 170 men's physique. 170.
Yeah. It's magic to even separate that many people.
Yeah, how the fuck are you supposed to stand out in front of that many people? But obviously the winners did, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So that led into a good few years of competing internationally as well. They were probably the best experience, because in different countries, different cultures, you're kind of alone in a way. Like AJ would go boxing in a different country. He wouldn't necessarily have his crowd behind him.
Right,
That kind of experience, or at least you felt.
Yeah. So it become like a big way of life for that period of time. It was always competing, always prepping, always...
Yeah, definitely.
Do you like that sort of Lone Ranger mindset of being there, or do you prefer to have a lot of people there encouraging you at the
I'm
same time?
I'm certainly someone who believes if you want to get something done good, you've got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But now I understand that there are and the right times to work with other people as well. You can achieve a lot more with other people. But I still have that mindset. And that it is a very lonely sport. But it was a good couple of years of literally dieting pretty much most of the year, leaving everything else on the back burner, education, everything.
Because you've got to give it 100%. You can't be doing competitions and working and studying. It's not going to work. It's got to be 100% on nothing.
The last year of uni, I don't know how I managed it, but I did my degree, I was working as well, and I had a couple of competitions that year. And I juggled it pretty well. I did really well in my degree, still managed to work to pay the rent, etc. And competitions I managed to do quite well as well. So, but after that year, I was like, no, I'm shot. There's no way I can keep that
Burnt
up.
yourself completely out.
There's no way I can keep that up 24/7. And that showed in your physique. Like, there's one competition the following year that I did at Body Power, saw a photo, another one that I didn't place in, and that was probably the worst condition I've ever been in. Bearing in mind, I was aiming to be in the best condition I've ever been on stage. I'm probably in better condition now.
We'll show you afterwards. We'll get the top off, don't worry.
But it just shows that whether it's stress or for whatever reason, it can have a massive effect on your physique, and just imagine what that's having an effect on mentally as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, massively.
I started to have the wrong kind of relationship with food, like most competitors do, if they don't take the right approach. So the bodybuilding era for me was definitely one that shaped my mindset and approach to certain things. There's definitely a lot of carryovers from that.
Yeah. What was that? So you don't compete in competitions and that now. What was that moment that you decided, like, enough for that? I need to sort of move into something else.
Without getting too bitter.
Watch it. It's like a red light every time anyone says anything too bad. No.
Nah, I think initially that social media era of the fitness model era, and everyone jumping in on the bandwagon, and to be honest, it was more a shift in my mentality. I got a bit older.
But I think that shift in your mentality kind of matches the shift in the fitness industry as well. It's like you were just saying then, like, we don't want to be bitter and sort of badmouth anything, but at the same time, that era, like we just said earlier, was bodybuilding. If you wasn't bodybuilding, you're not doing nothing.
Yeah.
Then CrossFit was under the radar, coming up and up and up, and then everyone started to realise that I haven't got to stand there on stage and be judged. I can lift big, I can do all these other things, and I can be judged in how I want to be judged, rather than just how you look. It become less about looks and more about performance and about feeling good, rather than just these are supplements I take. Like you said about social media, it was all about, I take creatine, I take this supplement, It turned into this whole game of, get my 10% code for this, and this, and that's what the game was.
And that's exactly what it was for me. Like I was seeing a lot of that happening. Everyone, it seemed, was making it their life to try and get sponsored. And I knew what was going on in the background. These people weren't getting sponsored. It was just 10% discount codes and all that kind of stuff. And in a way, it just got in my head, and I just didn't want to be like that anymore. And then I suppose that's where the shift came, where for me I didn't want to necessarily compete on stage. I'd got what I wanted out of it. I pushed myself. I think I did 22, 23 competitions in total. So I'd done enough to get what I wanted to get out of it. And for me now, I was getting to an age where I was thinking, right, I actually want to make a career out of something. I'm still interested in it. I still love it. And that's why we're in this place today. We've got the personal training facility. We've now got the Two Bros events, which is a completely different side of the industry for me, in that we now create bodybuilding events and give new opportunity that was otherwise bottlenecked in the past couple of years, or the past couple of decades, and now giving athletes the opportunity to actually qualify for things like Olympia.
So how did that come about? What was the shift there?
So Two Bros come about, I guess it was right place, right time really. Without going too much into the previous stuff that had gone on in with federations and the industry before, what was going on in the UK was opportunities being bottlenecked to qualify into the Pro League, which leads to Olympia, which is the super bar bodybuilding. The UK was being bottlenecked, and America didn't like it. My business partner was in business with someone involved in the UK, in the American counterpart at the time, and was just in the right place, right time. So he made the connection. He's basically he instrumented it all pretty much, and we were then given the opportunity to host the first UK pro qualifier in this country for decades. A lot of people didn't trust it at first. They didn't. They thought
it's something new, isn't it?
But we're now into our second year. We've got 7 events this year, 3 pro qualifiers and the British finals as well.
Wow.
So
the ethos behind Two Bros, from like our conversations before, has always been about sort of like your past. You were saying before in the podcast that like the game was rigged in the other, like what was going on back in the day. The game was rigged. There was dealings. There was sort of the industry was kind of getting broken. and instead of just running away from the industry, you decided you're going to change it from within, and Two Bros was born, the deals with America happened, like you just said.
I guess that was definitely a part of the initial mental shift for me from being a competitor to what we're doing now. Is, it wasn't just me that experienced wrongdoings in the industry. I see a lot of people, a lot of friends, because you meet a lot of competitors. I see a lot of guys experience wrongdoing at shows. There was a lot of judges, coaching competitors, all that kind of shit, and it just wasn't an environment where people were being able to trust. You put in 12, 16, sometimes months prep into a competition to almost know that certain people are going to get placed, and then you're left with the 1 or 2 spots that could be up for grabs.
So I guess you've kind of taken a role now, which actually relates back to some of the stuff you've told us from uni, where you went back to uni and you found yourself coaching some of the younger guys through, so that they don't follow the same experience that you had. So I guess that's what you're actually doing with Two Bros as well.
Exactly, yeah. What we're trying to do now is create, one, the opportunity that UK competitors should have had for the past however many decades, and two, more importantly, make it fair. Make it a fair advantage to know that when you register for our show, you're registering for a show that you've got as much opportunity as anyone else to win your pro card. It's based on your physique, on nothing else. We bring in judges from America. We pay for judges to come in from America who judge the Olympia, who judge the Pro League, so that they come and judge our shows. They don't know who the fuck steps on stage. So how can they possibly be biased? You're getting...
There's no rigging whatsoever, it's there in front of
Exactly, yeah. And that's what we're trying to do. We're still trying to gain the trust of competitors in the UK. As I said, we're in our second year now, and the ball's turning. We're getting there. All we can do is keep putting on the events, keep showing the athletes what we're about. But that's our standpoint, and that's how we come about. It's about being judged fairly and now having the opportunity.
So your life so far has been, you almost died. You sorted out your uni stuff. You had a goal, reached that goal, which was the men's health, and then you went straight into sort of coaching and bodybuilding. You attained that goal, and then you've started your own federation. You've got that goal. So what was left? What's next? What's the next in the story?
To be honest with you, I guess I'm in that fuzz right now. I'm trying to find that next. It's only recently we did the SAS thing. Not last year, late in the year before. What was the new series has come about.
What made you apply for that? What was the...
where was Two Bros when you applied for that? What was...
So when I applied for it, it was in our first year.
So not only was trying to set up Two Bros a challenge, you just thought, fuck it, I'll go on TV and go for one of the most horrendous things I can anyway.
For me now, it's about finding something that I can test myself and test what I've gained in however many years it was since the last one, what skills, what experience I've gained, and how I can now utilise that moving into the next thing.
So you watched the season. How many seasons? What season was yours?
It's 3.
So 3. So you watched the 2 first seasons, saw how horrible it was, and thought, that's a bit of me.
From the first series, my mate would vouch for this, Daniel Driscoll. From the first series, we both of us was like, we need to apply. We're going to apply. It didn't actually apply to the next series. And I remember he sent me a screen, when it first came on, the second series, a screenshot come up and the title was Maverick, like that was the first episode. And as soon as it come up, I'd turn it on, and whilst it was on, I was looking on social media to see where the applications were, and anyway, I put a notification in to remind me when the applications come up, and then that's when I applied, and obviously managed to, luckily, so it's out of thousands of people, to get into the 3rd series.
But it wasn't just you had your twin.
I dragged him into it,
I actually remember watching it, and we saw you both on there. I was like, this is going to be so interesting, because it's not even just like everything leading up to the last day is all good as a team, but when you get through to that last day, you've got to cut. It's like there's no one else. It's just me now. And it's got to be tough with your twin bit there.
Yeah, it's very much an individual thing. We definitely fed off each other. We're not big communicators, or at least we wasn't and haven't been for years. Our family's quiet.
You sound like me now.
Same. It's just because I'm always off trying to do my own things, and you just actually sometimes forget to just come back and actually spend time with your family.
And we're close.
Yeah.
Like, when we see each other, nothing changes.
Yeah.
But we're not big communicators. Like, we'll go weeks. Even my mum will go weeks without talking.
Yeah.
And he didn't actually know that he was going to be on the show.
So you signed up? You signed him up? Oh shit!
I signed him up, yeah, and he only found out when he was literally on his way home from Ibiza.
Nice.
Got a phone call to say, yeah, your brother's put you in for an application of SAS Who Dares Wins. We want you to come and do a casting day next week. And bear in mind, he'd just done a week in Ibiza.
Yeah.
Definitely take you do. Definitely take you do.
So yeah, he did pretty well. He actually failed. I'm putting this on camera, but he actually failed the first fitness test by a sit-up, by one sit-up. But they allowed him to do it again.
See, the difference is I'd probably sign him up and then not do it myself.
Do you know what? That's actually a lot of stuff that we do. You say we'll do it, and it's just me that ends up doing it.
I just push him in that direction, and I'm
Power
like,
games, like, yeah.
Carry on.
But yeah, for me, this SAS Who Dares Wins thing, it wasn't about being on TV. It was similar to the milestone with the men's health thing. It was about a culmination of everything that I'd done in that lead up. It was about proving to people like my mum that she'd brought up two headstrong, independent sons that can look after themselves.
Because I mean, you can't, like, a lot of people sort of say, like, you go on these shows to gain sort of any sort of like celebrity status, but it's not as easy as that. Like, being from the military, I kind of know the background, and I know these boys don't mess around. Like, yeah, like people might think, oh yeah, but what happens behind the camera? And like from what we've spoken at, and from what I know of these boys, that like Ant and all that, and Foxy, like they're not gonna just fluff it up behind camera. They're gonna be even worse behind camera.
What was it like day one? Day one,
They try and keep the process as authentic as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So the only thing that might deter you a little bit is drones that they have, like the cameras flying around.
Yeah.
Even the cameramen, they had to be a certain distance, or if they were up close, they had to wear something over their head, so you couldn't talk to them or you couldn't speak to them. And you were just expected to ignore it.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like when you're standing there the first time on parade? You got your armband on, and you just got these guys in front of you. What's going through your head?
The first thing I remember it vividly. They drove us for like 2 hours, 5 o'clock in the morning, got us out of bed. Obviously, this is not.
Do you meet them all? Do you meet them all before?
No, this is not. This is like the production crew.
Yeah,
Get us out of bed. We were told to put 2 pairs of pants in a bag, and any medication that we had, and a toothbrush. That was it. Put that in the bag. Got us out of bed, chucked in this van, drove for a couple of hours. So this was like 5 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's thinking, well, where the fuck are we going? And I think it's part of it. They do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Because it gets in your head.
Yeah.
Anyway, we come up to this. It was like a ravine with some hills and stuff, rocky. And there's like a little camp. You could see the tent, and there were some soldiers up there, some Moroccan soldiers. Anyway, the tent was facing away. Well, everyone's like, why is it facing away? Anyway, we got round there, so we had to put on all the mics and stuff, checking obviously the armbands, numbers, all that kind of stuff. We got our Bergens at that point, and then we were asked to just stand in a line, and then all of a sudden you can hear like a noise of a helicopter. Just coming
So you didn't know any of this was going to happen? Oh shit.
So the helicopter's coming in, and everyone's thinking like, "Ow!" Like,
you thinking this is cool? You thinking, ah, shit.
I'm thinking we're getting in it, but what the fuck are we going to be doing in it? We're going for helicopter ride or what?
Yeah.
And then Ant just comes. This is why the tent was away. So Ant comes walking around, and we got broken into groups. And Ant shouts my number, my brother's number, and 2 other numbers. So he was like first up. I was like, fuck, first up. I don't even get to see what's going on first. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
And then he said the helicopter starts coming down and landing. He walks us away, down on one knee, ready to kind of approach the helicopter. And I remember the first thing he says was, this is going to be the only time that I'm going to be nice to you. This is going to be an experience. Take it head on and just enjoy it. And then that was it. That was the nicest. That's probably the nicest thing he'd said the whole 10 days until afterwards.
Yeah.
And then on the helicopter, and he ended up booting us out the helicopter. And that was the entrance.
And that was the first time in a helicopter, the first time?
Yeah, just as I was about to, like when you sit on the edge of a helicopter and it's coming up to your go, and you're thinking, I was literally thinking, what the fuck have I got myself into? Like, what have I got myself into in there?
Because I
almost regretting it, almost.
I watch these programs and I kind of get like, I always sit on the edge of my seat and I get well into it because I get into programs, but where I've got that background, I'm like, I remember doing this, and I can sort of, looking at someone, I start feeling what they're feeling.
Yeah.
And then I was watching like that one, the recent one, and the series before, and people always say to me, like, is it really like that? Like, but they know they're not going to get hurt because they're on TV, but you start to forget you're on TV. You start to forget, like, because even in military training, there's health and safety, like, savage health and safety, but still there's times where you're like, am I going to fucking die here? Like,
there's still a danger
can I do this?
There's still a danger to it all. And with the abseil, and made you believe that if you don't control that, you're basically controlling the rope. If you don't control that rope, you're falling to your death. So he made you think that you was in control. So some people actually question themselves, saying, like, can I actually control this? Do you know what I mean? And what they do, they plan the whole process out because they know how to get into your head. But you're right, there are limitations to it, and on TV there's no way they're going to let anyone die. Don't get me wrong, freak accidents happen, but
still, like, when you're in it, like, being a contestant, you're not going to see what's going on behind the scenes. You're not going to see the health and safety. You just see what they want you to see, and mate, it's scary shit.
So you've done the helicopter, you get to base, like, you've got a bit of downtime. What are you thinking in that process? Is everyone like...
Downtime? What's that?
Downtime? Was it straight in from the get-go,
As soon as we got off the helicopter, they beasted us. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
What you saw was 10 days condensed down into 5 hours. Yeah. Not even that, because the break's like 46 minutes, I think, an episode is.
Yeah.
As soon as we got off, we had to swim to the bank. When everyone came in, we then got beasted for a good hour. Because what they're trying to do is weed out the weak straight away. They don't want anyone there that can't cope with a bit of exercise to them.
Yeah. And the thing is, they don't start soft and move up. They go as they mean to carry on. Yeah, they go in deep and hard, quick.
Every single time it was a beasting. Yeah. And that first 4 days, it was intermittent. Like, we was up 1-2 o'clock in the morning after our sleep, pulling us back out again. They called it sun-ups, one of them. Sun-ups, basically saying, like, we're going until the sun comes up.
Right,
But it's to get into your head as well, because you're thinking, fuck me, it's like 1 o'clock. You've got another 5-6 hours till that sun comes up.
Yeah. A lot of people sort of say that, like, it's only a week. Now, I know that, like, a week, like, a day in that environment is a long time, but a week, like, just a week, you can get through a week. It's not as easy as that. Like, when 24 hours isn't 24 hours when you're awake for 24 hours getting beasted for that long. Like, it's like doing a wall sit. A minute's not a minute. No. And it's the same mentality. Like, all day is such a long time.
I lost a stone that week. That's 14 pounds. I've not got a stone to lose, except off my arse. But that's a lot of weight for someone like me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that week, sort of, so you fucking smashed that week, and then you won. What was that like? What was the last challenge like?
So the last day, it was 4 sickeners, 3 or 4 sickeners, one after the other. And the idea of the sickener is that bit of exercise goes until a certain number of people drop out, and they predetermine that. They don't tell us how many, but they predetermine. In their heads, they're thinking, right, we want one to drop out here, and this is going to keep going until one person drops out. So it's about again. It's not even necessarily the physicality, because you can keep going, just one foot in front of the other. Yeah.
And the whole point of it is to make you foul. Like, they're there to make you foul. They're not there to help you. They're not there to make sure you pass. They're there to foul you.
Yeah. But what I realise is, in a way, it is helping you. Like, they're beating you to the max. And they're treating you like a bit of dirt. But really, what they're doing is they're almost opening up a can of worms for people. Yeah. Everyone's got a can of worms. Yeah, whether that be a mental thing or a physical thing. And what these guys are doing on this course is they're helping you open up that can of worms that you otherwise wouldn't open up yourself, or you would avoid.
What you're actually capable of.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the main reasons that people get into the fitness industry, people that come for weight loss and people that do the bodybuilding shows or even the CrossFit. The actual reason isn't to get in shape or to win the show. There's always that underlying issue of a lot of it will be self-confidence or self-worth. There's always that, like, that the fitness side of it is just the mask to get you to realise and appreciate what you're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah. I tell you what I think it is for a lot of people is self-discipline.
Yeah.
It's being able to, one, assess yourself and be honest with yourself, and two, be able to be disciplined enough to carry something out consistently.
Let's have it right. If you nail your self-discipline, like you can actually achieve anything. Like we fail at things, or we don't achieve where we thought we could achieve because we don't have the right amount of discipline. Whether that's you don't want it enough and it's not coming from the heart, but you just start, like me. It's my biggest problem is my discipline and consistency, because I'm not disciplined enough to be consistent. Yeah. So it's working on that, and then when I do find the time to be disciplined and consistent, that's when we'll flourish, and that's what you've done when you've gone to.
Yeah, there's days where you don't want it. Some days there's gonna be days where you don't want it, but it's having the discipline to still know that overall goal's there, and you need to be disciplined every day, whether you want to do it on that day or not. Yeah. Whether you're ill, whether you're tired, whether you're bored of it. If you really want that goal, you have to be disciplined.
It's that why, isn't it? You've got to have your why. Why are you doing this? In the back, your why is always going to be stronger than anything else. So no matter where you are in your life, no matter what's going on in your life, if your why is strong enough, you're just going to get it.
Exactly. It's inevitable. If you've got intrinsic motivation, they call it. If you've got intrinsic motivation rather than extrinsic, you've got to be motivated internally rather than externally from someone else to really stay on track.
Yeah, was that your biggest takeaway from having that experience? Was that discipline and showing that you can achieve it?
For me, it was about reassuring myself. Yeah. I didn't go on that show to reassure anyone else, other than probably mum, family. But for me, it's about reassuring myself what I can do, how disciplined I am, and what I can put myself through.
And how's that impacted you since the show?
Well, I'm definitely a lot more content with myself. Something like that. As I said before, a lot of people question themselves. A lot of people don't have that self-discipline, and I've always questioned myself on certain things, but following that experience, I certainly question myself a lot less. I believe in a lot more. I have that kind of mindset, the belief, rather than the initial question.
Right, yeah.
So I will put myself in head first, rather than take a little step in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
So some people would say that you pushed beyond your limits.
Just
right there, just throw it out there. Alright, so we're at that point of the interview now. We want to talk about your biggest influence in your life. So what or who is the biggest influence in your life to date?
Well, I thought about this, and there's three main ones, and we'll try and get them through them a little bit quicker. The first one's obviously going to be the Mavs, Matt Sallis.
Mama Sallis.
Yeah, she's
get her on a podcast.
She's Donna Sallis on Instagram, Facebook.
Make sure she sees it.
Give her a follow.
Use her 10% discount.
She sacrificed a lot.
Yeah.
When we was early teens, young kids. That's all I need to say on that, to be honest.
Yeah.
She sacrificed a lot for us. You don't realise that at the time, but now I certainly realise that a lot.
Yeah.
And I'll do anything I can to pay that back to her.
Amazing.
Number two will probably be my business partner, actually. I've never had that. I've had a father figure at a young age. We were told, my brother and I were told at 11, 12 years old, that he wasn't actually our dad. From 5 to about 11 to 12, we thought he was our dad. And at that age, we were told, he came into the room and he was like, "I'm not your biological father." And then we didn't see him again for some time after.
Jesus.
Yeah. So that was a hard hit at that age. I became a man that day, let's put it that way. Became much more independent. I stepped up very quickly.
I had a similar experience with that, around the same sort of age, but it was actually my real dad turned around and said, "I'm not going to see you anymore," and I've seen him once since.
Really?
Yeah. So it's just mad, isn't it? How a father figure can have such an influence on you. And again, I'll probably look back at that moment, and that's when I feel like I became a man. Do you know what I mean?
That's shaped to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as much as it's a negative experience, it's also a positive. It's a lesson. I always say the negatives in life are always a lesson, and the positives are a blessing. That was a bit cheesy, wasn't it?
Reach out for your t-shirt. Yeah? Just run it.
So yeah, the second influence for me would be my business partner. Not because he's been a father figure as such, because I met him at, what was it? It must have been 24, 25. This was after uni and everything. This was in my last years of competing. He's just someone who's very bold. He often doesn't think before he does something, which is sometimes better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as I was saying before, people question themselves. People have that disbelief.
Yeah.
And that stops them from taking action.
So he just dives in, burns the ships, and he's all in.
Literally, he parks anywhere he wants. Like, he don't get fucking tickets, he don't get points. But even just little things like that, and you're thinking, like, he just walks around and does what he wants.
Yeah.
And that had a big influence over me.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly a lot more bold nowadays, and it has paid off.
Yeah.
And that's just part of how it's influenced me anyway. So, but that's the main.
They say that the best mentors are not the ones that you like. A lot of people are out there paying for mentors and stuff, and they say that the best mentor isn't necessarily the one that you go and pay for. It's the one that comes along unexpectedly, and you just you automatically have that.
And he definitely came along unexpectedly. I met him through competing. His wife competed in the same show. We won the same show when he competed in America, and he was like, "Why don't you come and have dinner with us?" And then from then on, that's how this place started.
Yeah.
And obviously he's in the Two Bros stuff with me now as well. He's pretty much 15 years older than me. Yeah. And we're like best mates. Almost.
Yeah. So what's your third then? What's the third influence?
And my third is definitely. Do you know what? It's going to sound a little bit big-headed, but I think it should be everyone. Yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be able to influence yourself, because as I was saying before, it's that intrinsic influence, that intrinsic motivation. If you haven't got that, if you're relying on other people all the time, don't get me wrong, you want other people like my business partner, my mum, to have that influence, but you've got to be able to have that discipline and that action within yourself. So early teens for me, late teens for me was a lot myself. So I would definitely say a big influence in my life would be my mentality and the way that's developed.
One of my old corporals used to say to me that you're only a man if you can be dropped off in the middle of nowhere and survive. And like I rely on Mitch, I rely on my parents and loads of people around me, but I always have to go back to myself and think, if I get dropped off in the middle of nowhere, can I survive without all of this? I probably need Instagram. I need that, but other than that, I could probably survive. But that's kind of like I like that. Like your biggest influence is yourself. Like I always, when I'm sort of soft going wrong in the business or we're not connecting properly, I always think, look, I've done X, I've done this in my life. And I mean, how old are you?
29.
29. So young. So you're 29, but I mean, you lost your dad at a young age, you almost died. You've competed in over 25 shows. You've started your own company. You completed SAS Who Dares Wins. I mean, it's a lot to do in 29 years. A lot to do in 29 years. So I mean, to say that, like one of your biggest influences yourself, I don't think that's big. I think that's spot on for someone at such a young age to have achieved so much and gone through so much. I think that's bang on money.
Appreciate that.
Cool. So last one, and this is one that kind of me and Mitch don't do. Is what's the latest book you're reading, or podcast, or ebook? Because me and Mitch do ebooks because we can't read.
I do audibles.
Audibles, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But my problem is I can't stay focused, so I'll be driving along listening to an audible, and then all of a sudden I'm daydreaming about fairies coming down.
There's a number of things at the minute. I'm not a huge reader. I'm more of a listener.
Yeah.
Or a looker. I'll read if something interests me, but the Joe Rogan podcast I quite like, just because they're in depth, they're in length, and they really delve into successful people's personalities, and you can take a lot away from how people look at things and what they're out
and sort of find that common ground.
Exactly. Or even if you haven't got that common ground, you might actually pull something away. You think, actually, that makes sense. I could utilise that myself. So podcasts like that have a purpose, such as this. I find really useful. I do a lot of travelling in the car, so that's when I chuck that on. A book that the most recent I read, which is probably not within the last 6 months, a book called Bold. And this book's about being able to, being an entrepreneur, but being able to take an idea and actually make it.
Camera just died, so we were on a different camera, but we were just talking about Bold, which is the book you're reading.
Yeah, so Bold's basically a book about entrepreneurship, and a lot of times you get self-made entrepreneurs who say they've done this and done that and not really taking much into action, but what this book does, it just gives you a different mindset on how to take an idea and make it a reality, but not in a way that is complicated at all, like one that would make you think in a completely different spectrum. Because being an entrepreneur or coming up with an idea or a new business to a lot of people sounds complicated, right? There's a lot of barriers straight away that people would come up with. Whereas this book just basically explains that basically throw your head first.
Yeah.
Don't take that little step in.
Yeah.
Do something that you're passionate about as well, because that's what's going to keep you on that straight and narrow. So for me, it was just a good book to read whilst I was getting into a gym, the two-row stuff, all that kind of stuff, and that what we spoke about with my business partner about being bold and not being brash, but just going in head first.
Yeah.
Nice. What about morning routine? Have you got like a morning routine that you stick to, or do you just sort of roll with it?
It varies, to be honest, mate.
Yeah.
If I've got to be up, I'll get up. If I ain't, and I fancy staying in bed, I'll stay in bed. You get a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, I'm up at the crack of dawn, like 5 a.m, 6 a.m. You're not successful unless you do."
Yeah.
Get up when the fuck you want to get up.
Yes.
I literally, we actually done a talk about this the other day on one of the Instagram live videos, and I was saying that all these people say, if you're not waking up at 4 a.m, you don't want it enough. I don't set alarms because I can just wake up. That's bullshit. If I don't set an alarm, I ain't getting up till 10 o'clock. It ain't happening.
Yeah. I can't stay in bed till 10.
Oh mate, if I can get away with it, I'll
On
be
the
in bed till
weekends,
10.
Sundays, to be fair, Sundays are the day that I'll literally just lay in, and sometimes midday, and I'll literally eat. Sometimes eat shit.
I listen to that where they say if you don't get up at 5, then you're not going to be successful. Well, I'm going to be the first one that does it getting up at 8. That's what
People say to me, Mitch, because for 2 years we were running Beyond Limits. People kind of forget the hours we actually put in. Like, yeah, we do take a little bit of a step back now because we own the business. It's great, and we can do that because we employ people that are better at the jobs that we used to do. Like, we used to work. Well, you didn't, but I did. From 6 in the morning till like 11 o'clock at night, and that was like every day. Every day it was relentless. I had the weekends. I'd do Saturdays. And then Sundays was mostly off unless I had like a course or something to be done. And that was for 2 whole years I'd done that. And now I can go in the gym at 9. Like you were saying, like if I've got nothing on in the morning, I won't go in till maybe the afternoon. And I'll rock up and be like, what? People, like someone was saying to Mitch the other day, like, oh yeah, entrepreneurs, like people that make it wake up at 4 a.m. Mitch is like, well, I'll be the first one that ain't. I'll be the first billionaire that ain't. Like.
As you said, you've got to put the hours in. Decide there's 24 hours in a day.
If there's work to be done, do the work. But if you've got someone else doing it, then
because what we found when we was first starting that, we'll spend all day in the office, but doing nothing. But we felt like we just had to be there, so we'd be sitting in the office thinking, "Fuck, we're not progressing because we're not finding something to do." But now we take that step out and we set aside the tasks that need to get done, and we go in and then just smash them. And we're a little bit happier about it.
I think it's one of those that like we feel more like you feel more refreshed on a daily basis. Whereas before we're so burnt out. Whereas now if I've got nothing to be in go to the office for, then I won't go. And if I've got something to be in the office for, I'll go in and I'll smash it. And it's the same for both of us.
I guess my day starts with one routine, and that's making the bed.
Literally, we're the exact same.
You miss making the bed.
You
become lackluster with other stuff. If you take the effort in making that bed, that starts your day mentally.
We done a podcast with Ollie, and he was saying the same. He was saying that like his ones are all about sort of entrepreneurs and building people up, and he's a really successful guy. And he was saying that morning routine is really important. And me and Mitch both said we don't have one. But then we realised that we both make the bed, and we even spoke about it. Like I don't leave the house unless I made a bed. And then I actually had an incident where my mum phoned and said, "Is everything all right?" I'm like, well, "What's wrong?" She's like, "Well, I've just gone in your room and your bed's not made. Like, is everything okay?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." No, I just woke up like really, really late. But it's definitely something that I always make sure it's done before I leave, because it's that littlest task is already completed. You're already winning your day.
It's the initial one.
A messy bedroom's a messy mind, isn't it? I'm a firm believer in that.
Mitch is all about his sock drawer.
Yeah, my sock drawer is a reflection of where I am in the state of mind. If I open it up and it's all everywhere, I'm like, right, Mitch, we need to take a minute and just chill out.
I'll get a text message, be like, I'm having a sock day. Oh, okay.
If I open it and everything's in place, I'm like, yeah, today's good.
Wicked. Alright, cheers, Matt. Thank you very much for that, mate.
Really appreciate it.
it.
Thanks for being so honest with us as well, and
very much,
hopefully
Adam.
someone will take some inspiration from this and develop that Beyond Limits mindset.